to me that it really was the pandemic that made them watch that show.
Do you ever? I had Jason Oppenheim on here. He told a funny story. I mean, look, we have mentions this season of Selling the City. We have Trevor Noah and Michael B. Jordan. Like Jason told a funny story when he was on this podcast about like a funny celebrity. He said, I showed a house to John Legend and there was a piano and he like was like, can I have a minute, and sat down and did like a whole concert one-on-one for
That's
Jason.
so cool.
Do you have any like, not confidential, but just like a funny celebrity story?
Obviously my own celebrity clients I wouldn't talk about just because like there's a fiduciary obligation there. But yeah, like early in my career, I was asked to show, I had a rental listing, it was a short-term rental. I had no idea what the condition was. They told me that the like buyer was Bob Smith and I was too young to know better, or that the renter was Bob Smith. And I told them, the tenants were there. They were like, we're not going to vacate. So I was like, okay, their tenant's still there. We're going to have to show it while they're there. And I went and I showed up and it was Nick, Jonas, and one of his brothers. I think the older one. What's his name? Kevin. Kevin with a brother.
Nick Jonas,
but Nick was cute. Yeah. Right?
They were the tenants?
They were the prospective tenants. And then I was going to show, and there were tenants from overseas that were there that were vacating. They told me that they'd be present. And when I opened the doors, I mean, it was like an epic disaster. There were like mattresses all over the floor, and they were smoking cigarettes, and there were women, and I just like did not, it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. And I was like, obviously the tenants are here, they're leaving next week, but I didn't know what to do. But both of the Jonas brothers were very gracious about the whole showing, even though it was like a complete disaster and the apartment looked like shit.
And you didn't know it was them, right?
I
Because
had
they said
no
Bob
idea.
Smith,
Yeah,
like
this
as
is
a alias. And
Yeah.
you're just like, this has to be
Yeah.
whoever.
Now I know better. Now I know like Bob Smith to Google that and make sure that it's,
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Did you ever?
They didn't know. Of course, they did not rent that apartment. The apartment
that was
looked
the
like
end.
trash. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. In Midtown.
Why speaking of Jade, so I mean, and I didn't think about it until you just mentioned it. I didn't realize watching the show that we really didn't learn anything about her personal life. But now that you mention it, yeah, we didn't. Like we know everything about Taylor, that she was
everything.
Right. She was having some issues with her marriage. Yeah. I mean, even like Jordan, we know who she dated, and then she broke up with her boyfriend and came to stay with you, so we didn't know, even Abby, we saw, right?
Her
She's
husband,
very happy, like
she's like, I'm from the South.
Happy marriage.
Right. You don't get Jade's story.
Yeah.
You don't get like, where did she grow up? And,
maybe during season 2, someone is going to pull her aside, not you. Some producer would say, this is what needs to be done in season 2.
Or talk about yourself, not,
Then why does that play into then? Because as an audience member, I don't think you understood, like, why did she get so upset in the finale when Abby, was it like, I don't want to give you a storyline, I'm just not fighting on camera? I mean,
it's funny to me because like Abby, the whole thing was everyone knew about everything ahead of time. Abby had come to me like 3 weeks prior and said that like Jade had talked badly about me and that she wanted to bring it up on camera. And I told Abby not to, honestly, because I didn't want Abby to give Jade like that much of a platform. And I know Jade and she's talked shit about everyone always. But I kept telling Jade, like, Abby wants to bring this up. Abby's going to confront you on camera when she has a chance. So Jade knew that it was coming. I think what set Jade off and made her the most upset was when Abby said, did you not say that I look old? I could see in that moment, Jade was like, oh my God, Eleonora betrayed me in some capacity. She realized that I had told Abby that she said she looked old. I think that's probably what set her off, I guess. I didn't realize it would set. I love finale Jade. I find that to be the most authentic Jade we got all season. Not putting on a show, not having to sort of like pretend like, something's her listing when it's not her listing, or, do a presentation about development that's not, I want Jade to live in her confidence and her ability and her excellence and expertise. She really is one of a kind in terms of what she's done and with the new developments and the buildings she represents. Like no one in the new development space represents the type of buildings that she's on. She really is on the best possible brands ever. And she sells them, and she's the sales director, and she should own that, and she should be so proud of that. There's no reason for her to try to make any sort of comparison between our abilities in the resale space because there is absolutely no comparison. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a weird way for her to approach the show. I mean, she is so above and beyond in her own space. I'm not sure why that wasn't like the story that she wanted to tell. I feel like it was more of like a referendum on comparing me to her. Like she kept saying that I'm crazy or I act up in restaurants, but then like she had an epic meltdown in the finale.
Yeah.
So I don't really get it. But okay, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm sort of at a place now where like I genuinely like do sometimes enjoy her and think she's fun, but her behavior since the show has been kind of um I don't know, off kilter.
Why has she been like saying things about you in interviews?
She hasn't really done any interviews, so I guess she's like not really excited about the show. But but yeah, I mean, I've everything that I've said in interviews, I've said to her face. I have a job to do, which is to promote the show, so I'm going to keep doing interviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's definitely like I said to her when I watched it, she was like, "Are we good?" And I was like, "No, not really." That was really hard for me to watch. Like, I guess she's like, "Well, I'd like to still be friends," and I was like, "Well, I don't know. I can't really be friends until I see how you like react and like the press day and whatever." And then she like does press day, and she's like, "I'm the star of the show. Like, you will thank me if we get a second season." Like, Abby looks old, like all 20 somethings. You're old, look old. And I was just like, and liking all the mean I've not liked, by the way, I must have thousands of comments of people saying like Jade is a jealous snake, and I've never liked or engaged with one of them. But she does like those. So I don't know. I'm just like, she kind of sucks. I don't know how else to say it. Like, she's a great agent and like I'll show with her, but as a friend, I don't know. No,
Well,
thank you.
you look at your friends, like you say, Margaret and Rachel Fuda and Melissa, they could tell you, yeah, you often go into reality TV with a real life friend and it just
It
doesn't
doesn't work. No.
work.
And I knew it's not like our friendship hadn't struggled in the past, so I knew what I
Yeah.
was bringing to television. So I'm okay with it. It's not like I'm missing out on a real, it's never a friend that I like call to confide in on, real personal issues or anything like that. But yeah, it just sucks. Like, I was recently hiring someone on my team and he was like, Jade was making faces when I said I was joining your team. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm like, okay.
Is he can possibly be on the show and is it going to be more man candy like the Steve Gull that we got
Um,
and Justin?
I don't know. Yeah, not so. He didn't give us enough man candy. Steve was good though.
I mean, I have often referred to Steve as the hottest guy on Bravo,
Yeah.
past or present. That's
Do
just
you
my
still think so?
Yeah.
Like he gave it to us in the showers, the
I
opening
think
Steve
Joe
scene.
Bradley on Southern Hospitality
Really?
gives Steve somewhat of a run for his money. But
I'm
Steve is
actually
up
doing a
there.
panel with him this week. I do not find
Really?
him attractive, but
Really?